AMD's answer to the global RAM crisis just launched X3D CPUs. Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. AMD is essentially launching three X3D CPUs. They've got the 5800 X3D coming back. We've got the 7600 X3D hitting wide availability. And then we've got the 9950 X3D too. How these CPUs going to perform versus their rivals in the current market out there? We'll check it out and tell you what's the best gaming and production CPU to buy at every budget level. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like, of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Meter, the company building better networks. Now, before YouTube, I ran operations at nonprofits, and like most businesses, our biggest headache was networking. I wish we'd had Meter. Meter builds out full stack networking solutions that actually work for business. That's because they manage every aspect. Meter designs the hardware, they write the firmware, and they build the software. So it all works together. And Meter's networking solutions are built to give you maximum control with deep visibility, policy level control, and ongoing support, and all at a price that works for your business. If you're ready to offload your networking headaches to a trusted partner, go to meter.com/PCBuilder to book a demo now, or click the link in the video description. All right, let's start off with everyone's favorite X3D CPU. The first of the three here, the Ryzen 5800 X3D is coming back. AMD's bringing it back. Now, these are still leaks and rumors, but this looks pretty convincing to me. And I did a whole video on this, by the way, so I'm just going to summarize the major points here. We have leaker HXL, who has gotten other things right in the past. So just FYI, both for AMD and Intel, leaked what looks like an AMD launch slide in Chinese. And yes, just because it gets leaked by an AIB in China doesn't mean it's not coming to a global audience. I went through that in the other video, but basically it's the same CPU, the 4.5 gigahertz boost clock, 100 megabytes of total cache, and 105 watt TDP, 8 cores, 16 threads as the original 5800 X3D. Well, shortly thereafter, we also got what looks like the other part of the slide here, which is the box for the Ryzen 5800 X3D. And you can see that they've updated with the little 10th anniversary decal down here. Honestly, it looks pretty convincing to me. You can also see this looks like it was cut off the other slide. See these like red lines here. If we go back to this slide, you can see the red lines here. It looks like the CPU is supposed to be on the left-hand side of this slide here. So I don't know. In terms of when we're going to get the CPU, I still think this might be a Computex 2026 launch event, but AMD seems to only want to talk about AI stuff these days on big stage events, so it's entirely possible we're just going to get this thing launched with just a press release. In terms of the pricing, in my previous video I said I needed it to be around $200, no more than that, to make sense for new builders, while in-socket upgraders, people who are already on AM4, already have a motherboard, already have RAM, it probably would make sense up to $249, although remember the 5700 X3D, you could get that for under $200 US, and I did go back and look, and the lowest price I could find the 5800 X3D ever got down to was about $270. All right, X3D CPU number 2 that I'm super excited about, by the way, is the Ryzen 7600 X3D. You're like, Jason, didn't that CPU come out a while ago? Wasn't it exclusive to Mindfactory in Germany and to Micro Center here in the US? You had to go in store for it? Yes, you did, except look at this. This is Amazon. You can now buy this off of Amazon in the US. And when I showed it to you during our 7600 X3D build guide, which I would just put out, by the way, it was $239. It's gone down $10. It is $229 for the CPU for the 7600 X3D. Now, some of you are not going to be in a market where the 7600 X3D is available. The 7500 X3D is available in the US right now for $299. I've heard it has better pricing in other markets. So in the US, obviously, you're probably going to pick up the 7600 X3D. Outside the US, you'll probably pick up the 7500 X3D. And if we take a look at the benchmarks that were put out by TechSpot, they tested every X3D CPU that's ever been released, basically, in terms of gaming at 1080p, very high. You can see it's not far off the 7800 X3D. It's only about 11 FPS off the 7800 X3D for the 7600 X3D. And then again for the 7500 X3D. Meanwhile, the 5800 X3D does pretty well in terms of the overall lineup, but you can see jumping up to a DDR5 RAM equipped system does make a difference. In terms of how those CPUs compare to like a 9600X or 7600X, you can see they are quite a bit faster with an RTX 5090 at either 1080p medium or 1080p ultra. I should add, by the way, the MSRP for the 7500 X3D is supposed to be $269. Right now, obviously $299. It's a little bit over its MSRP. And the third X3D CPU that we're going to get probably within a month of each other is the Ryzen 9 9950 X3D 2. Yes, that's right, a dual V-cache version of the 9950 X3D. 16 cores, 32 threads. We're like, since the 7950 X3D, why can't they do a dual V-cache version of this? AMD kind of gave us what we wanted, and maybe it kind of sucks, because not only is it stupid expensive at $900, I mean, nobody asked for $900, right? But we did ask for the dual V-cache version of it. Unfortunately, while it is pretty good in multi-threaded work, it's not that much better than 9950 X3D. And on top of that, the gaming performance is actually maybe even a slight step backwards from parts like the 9800 X3D, certainly from the 9850 X3D, which is a better gaming CPU. So a little bit of a disappointment on that front. But probably the biggest disappointment with this CPU is the power usage. AMD is basically pulling an Intel here to get more performance out of the CPU, even though it clocks lower than the 9950 X3D. The X3D 2 draws tons more power, 298 watts, versus, look at that, the 9950X, 233, the 9950 X3D, same wattage. All of a sudden, this thing is using like 60 more watts. It's almost like a 14900K. That is insane. So how are these CPUs going to stack up to everything else on the market right now? Well, let's check out current CPU prices on the AMD Ryzen side. We're going to start off with the AM4 CPUs that use DDR4. DDR4, by the way, is coming down in price, continues to fall in price. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But if you look, the 5500 came down in price this month. The 5600, despite going up slightly in price, availability actually got way better for that CPU, by the way, way better. So that's actually a good thing. And then the 5700X got a slight price cut as well. So these are the competition to the 5800 X3D right now. You could see where if you slid that 5800 X3D in at $199, it would probably fly off the shelf given where DDR4 prices are right now. But jumping into the mid-range here, how does this 7600 X3D stack up against similar Ryzen CPUs? Well, honestly, pretty well right now. See it right there at $229. Like, what is it competing with? The 7700X, it crushes in terms of gaming, and we'll take a look in terms of price to performance just a little bit later in the video. The 9600X at $179 is somewhat attractive, but we're only talking about a $50 price difference. It's kind of very attractive there. The 7600X actually went up slightly in price, but I will say for the 7600X and 9600X, there are some insane Newegg combo deals that actually bring the price of the whole package down quite a bit that you could take a look at. But in terms of higher end performance, the 7800 X3D got a nice little price cut down to $359. CPU prices are kind of starting to fall pretty much everywhere, including the 9850 X3D, got a $10 price cut. On the other hand, let's talk about that 9950 X3D 2, $899. It is so much more expensive. What is that? $250 more expensive than the 9950 X3D for what, the same gaming performance and slightly better production performance? It doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, especially when you look at the Intel competitors right now. I did want to take a look at some of those Newegg combo deals because they have come down about $30 or $40 within the last week or so. Now, who knows if the prices are going to stay here or they're going to go back up, but I do think this is kind of like DDR5 and DDR4 RAM prices are coming down. And we're seeing some of those price cuts in the combo deals as well. So a lot of these combo deals that you see $230, $235, just about a week ago, these were like $260, $270. So it's really crazy to see with a Ryzen 5500, 16 gigs of RAM, and a pretty good B550 motherboard. Meanwhile, a combo deal that I emphasize in our 7600 X3D build guide, which is a DDR5 RAM and motherboard kit, this came down $10 just yesterday. And if we look at some of those 7600X combos that I was just talking about, and they do come with a cooler that you can't see here, if you click through them, some are liquid coolers, some are air coolers, all of them are good enough for that. $420. This combo just a couple days ago was like $440. So that is really nice to see. So what does Intel have on offer? Well, honestly, a lot of their CPUs, unfortunately, are going up in price. We do see the 12400 coming back in. It's a Ryzen 5600 competitor. Yes, that's a really good sign for the market. The 12600K has been insane over at Newegg, by the way. $159 with a $10 promo code, and you get a C-tier rated Corsair 750 watt PSU with it. Basically makes the CPU like a, I don't know, $100 CPU or $90 CPU. Paired with a DDR4 motherboard, that's really insane. Meanwhile, their other big launch was the 250K Plus, which is available right now on offer with a C-tier rated PSU over at Newegg for $199, which is great. But unfortunately, the cheapest 270K Plus I can find that's supposed to MSRP at $299 is $349. Now, there are some combos with it, mostly kind of bigger RAM combos and then a couple motherboard combo deals with it. But same over at Amazon right now, $349. I feel like a little bit of a bait and switch here because this is supposed to be $299. Checking in quickly on RAM prices. Now, obviously, I would still buy a combo deal, but let's check in on what you can get the actual kits for. Right now, looking at April, $120 for a 16 gigabyte DDR4 kit. That is down from $135 in February, and the 32 gigabyte kit's down another $30. On top of that, I'm seeing kits like this. $99 for a 16 gigabyte DDR4 kit. Is it possible that we're seeing, at least on the DDR4 side right now, the RAM prices begin to break, possibly because of low demand? Here's another kit right now with a $30 promo code. It's basically $120. And on the 32 gigabyte side, not only are we seeing prices are kind of stabilizing around that $200 price point, but I will say we're seeing more gamery style kits now fall under that $200 price point, including I saw a Corsair kit just the other day. On the DDR5 side, we're seeing more price cuts. $250 was the going price in February for 16 gigabytes of DDR5, and now you can find kits as low as $215 out there. Now, I went ahead and put in $220 because there's a number of kits like this with the $30 promo code. RGB, DDR5 6000 CL38, slightly better in terms of the timings and the speed than the other kit, but you can see those DDR5 kits starting to fall in price. Looking at 32 gigabyte kits, these were $380 not too long ago, $400 really, down to $349 for an RGB kit, 6000 CL36. And there's this Corsair kit that was actually, I kid you not, for $315 just a couple days ago. It's popped back up to $360, but that's the new kind of stabilization point, no longer $380. Let's jump into the best gaming CPU and production CPU in April 2026. If you're not familiar with how we do this, we got a big spreadsheet with all the CPUs in it, and we calculate the total platform price. So we get the CPU cost, the cooler cost, the RAM cost, the motherboard cost, and then we come up with a price to performance based on its gaming score here. And we also have one for production as well with all the production stuff. Now, I will note 32 gigabytes of RAM for production, 16 gigabytes of RAM for gaming here. If you want to jump into the spreadsheet, you want to put in your own numbers, check it out, link down in the video description. Starting off with the best budget gaming CPU 2026 in April. So this is where the total platform price is less than $500, and you consider pairing this with a GPU like an ARC B570, B580, RX 9060, 5060, 5060 Ti, 16 gigabyte, those kind of GPUs. You can see here, the Ryzen 5500 is insane for price to performance. It does have a ceiling though. I wouldn't go any higher than an RTX 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, and I would prefer a 9060 XT 16 gigabyte for PCIe bandwidth reasons, but at $284 for the total platform price, it's insanely cheap. Now, you might be asking, well, Jason, what if I went and got one of those Newegg combo deals? I'm glad you asked. So instead of $284, it's $229. That is crazy cheap, and honestly, it's cheaper than at most points last year in 2025. So if you want to build a budget gaming PC, grab this deal. I do want to mention the other standouts here, the Ryzen 7500F. How is an AM5 DDR5 CPU on this list? Well, the good news is motherboard prices have absolutely cratered, as have cooler and everything else prices. $479 for the total platform price on the 7500F, which is a pretty good performer. But if you pick up a $420 Newegg combo kit that comes with a pretty good budget tower air cooler, comes with a RAM kit with RGB, comes with a decent motherboard, and comes with the Ryzen 7600X, which is a faster CPU, for $420 as opposed to the $479. It's basically like $60 off. That's pretty crazy. For those of you wondering about the i5 12600KF deal I showed you earlier, yeah, $418. The PSU is roughly worth like $60. So if you knock this down to about $60, you'd be right around the Ryzen 5600 levels of performance. All right, moving over to the best mid-range production CPU in April 2026, where the multi-core score is 170 or greater, and the price is less than $1,000 for the entire platform. And Intel absolutely dominates this, but remember, they don't have a future upgrade path, whereas if you buy a 9900X, you can drop in a Zen 6 CPU, a Zen 7 CPU, so on and so forth. The best value right now is the 265K. However, if you also want the extra gaming performance, I would probably spend the extra money and get the 270K plus. Right now, $939 for the entire package almost doesn't make it into this, but there is a Newegg combo deal. I'll link this in the video description. We can get a pretty decent Z890 motherboard and a nice 32 gigabyte kit of DDR5 6000 RAM. along with it. You probably obviously would need the cooler. I'd throw another $50 or $60, but you still come out about $120 ahead. If you have to have an AMD Ryzen CPU instead, the 9900X is not a bad value. It's also about $921. Now you can get these sometimes with combo deals. I just don't see one right now. Moving over to the best mid-range gaming CPU. So this is where the gaming score is 135 or greater. You'll note that's a little higher. I adjusted a lot of the CPU scores based on recent benchmarks from multiple outlets, and the total platform price is $700 or less. Look at the 7600 X3D. It absolutely bodies everything else on this list, except for the 7500 X3D, which is a little too expensive, needs to come down in price. Why buy that when you can get the 7600 X3D? And if you're in a market with the 7500 X3D makes more sense, then grab that instead, because they are very close in terms of performance and they crush everything, especially given the fact that B650, B850, B650E motherboards have crashed in price right now. And those RAM kits are actually coming down at the same time. The good news is with a 7600 X3D or a 7500 X3D, you don't really need to care about the RAM speed very much. So yeah, if you see a 5200 CL40 kit, pick it up if it's cheaper, if it helps you get into it. And you can cool this with a budget tower air cooler. We did our build recently with a great budget tower air cooler with nice digital readout to it. On top of that, there are still some RAM and motherboard deals out there. These are getting a little bit harder to find, but for $289 at Newegg right now, this would be a good one to pick up with the Asus TUF B850M-E Wi-Fi motherboard and 16 gigabytes of RGB RAM. In terms of the rest of the stack here, I could see an argument for like the 9600X or 7600X, especially if you pick up one of those combo deals, which again, I'm recommending grab one of those combo deals out there. Instead of $509 for 7600X, you pay $420. That would make it significantly better price to performance. And you don't need an X3D CPU for like a 9060 XT, 16 gigabyte, 5060 Ti, 16 gigabyte. So if you're gonna get a lesser GPU, I would probably come down in terms of the platform price. Intel with the 250K plus is trying, but I think they need to try just a little bit harder. I would love to see that CPU come down at least another $50, especially given it has no upgrade path. Let's jump into the best high performance production CPU in April 2026, and we will get to high performance gaming next. The multi-core score here is 250 or greater, and honestly, I feel like a broken record here, but the CPUs did change. It just doesn't look like it. The Ryzen 9950X is now kind of neck and neck with the 250K plus, but it gets smoked by the 265K, 27K plus. Honestly, kind of AMD needs a better answer at the high end. The 9950 X3D 2, I mean, if you're willing to spend all the monies and just get the best, that's probably the CPU to get for production and gaming at the same time. But honestly, for most folks who just want production, I'd probably go with the 9950X. It's $400 cheaper, and you still get that future upgrade path, which I know a lot of people are looking forward to with like Zen 6 or Zen 7 CPUs. Meanwhile, the Intel CPUs, if you're going to hold on to this for 5 years, maybe you just forego the upgrade path because AMD won't have an upgrade path that's 5 years plus anyway, so it might make some sense. All right, jumping into the best high performance gaming CPU in April 2026. So this is where the gaming score is 160 or greater. You'll note that's a little higher because I did get in here and I adjusted a number of the scores based on current benchmarks. The Ryzen 7600 X3D, 7500 X3D dominate from a price to performance standpoint. And honestly, I almost feel like the 7800 X3D is kind of losing its place, despite the fact it got a price cap. 7600 X3D is almost as fast as the 7500 X3D. Doesn't require that much cooling to it. Honestly, if you're going to step up in terms of your CPU power right now, going that kind of incremental step instead of going too high, given the cost of RAM right now, might make a lot of sense because you can get that for $130 less. If you do want all the gaming performance right now, the 9850 X3D to me is the top performer here. That's the one I would get. Now, these are 16 gigabyte kits, and I will say, at Newegg, there are some 32 gigabyte combo kits that are right around the $1,000 mark. So I would check those out for sure because they make the RAM a lot cheaper. Meanwhile, for Intel, I mean, kind of nice try, but the 270K plus with no upgrade path. Despite the fact it is $779, I like that. The gaming performance isn't high enough to justify that price point. I actually think the CPU needs to get a little bit cheaper. From a purely gaming standpoint, obviously people say, but Jason, production. Yeah, if you want to value it for production, maybe this price might make sense, although it's supposed to be $299, remember. The rest of the stuff here, especially the 9950 X3D 2, is not a CPU that I would recommend to somebody who's mostly a gamer, because the 9850 X3D's got tons of multi-core power for most average human beings out there just doing regular production work. Unless you're a super pro, I wouldn't get a 16-core CPU. I'd go with a 9850 X3D. Let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Well, honestly, DDR4 prices coming down, DDR5 prices are coming down. Kind of seems like maybe you should wait, except how much money are you really going to save and how long are you going to have to wait? That's always the question, right? Because what we're seeing right now, and I went through this in our RAM pricing video, I think is not related to all the AI bubble bursting stuff, and that is happening right now, but we haven't seen price impacts from that happen just yet. I don't know when that's going to happen. My best guess is probably Black Fridays when we'll start seeing those impacts, but it might be into 2027. That's a long time to wait to put together a gaming PC, and how much are you really going to save right now, especially with those Newegg combo kits, bring RAM prices basically back to almost where they were this time last year. It is a kind of an argument for going right now. And I feel like, especially at the budget segment, especially in the mid-range, there's a lot of argument to build now, especially with the Ryzen 7600 X3D. Super viable system right now. You can get a super powerful gaming CPU that you would have spent $140, $150 more for like a 7800 X3D, you get with the 7600 X3D, and you can cool it really easily, and that's the difference in the RAM kit right there. So I would probably go ahead, and especially at the budget and the mid-range, I think it's a good time to go right now. At the higher end, I could also see the same argument, basically. 9800 X3D, 9850 X3D, combo kits are out there right now, and if you get those combo kits, you can put together a really nice system with 32 gigs of RAM, and a relatively high-end GPU like a 9070 XT, which, by the way, GPU prices are coming down as well. We'll go through that in another video. The only thing that's really kind of the sticking point right now are SSD prices, and they just seem kind of stuck at about $150 a terabyte. I don't see when that changes. Maybe that's going to change because of the AI stuff. Maybe it's not. But I think right now, if you want to build a gaming PC, I wouldn't feel held back by RAM prices right now. Yes, are you going to spend more than you did last year? Probably. How much more though? Not that much more. Obviously, if you want to wait, you can. Again, I would just know why you're waiting. Everything's linked down in the video description, from the Newegg combo deals to the CPUs and the CPU spreadsheet. Check that out. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like, of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Like, did you check out our 7600 X3D build guide? Check it out. You will be surprised at the performance. You're going to be surprised at the price of this thing. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.